All right, this is part 2 of our video of how to troubleshoot a set of Gallagher Alleyway low bar. So what we did, what this thing was doing, if you haven't watched part 1, there's a link down below. Hopefully, you can click on and watch part 1. Was hooked up the bar. It's read 0 on the screen. You step on the bar, it wouldn't give me any reading at all. So I had to take the low bar apart. We tested each cell individually with our meter, and both cells were testing fine. And I did a check across the connector to the end of the cable, the other end, and everything was reading fine except for our red wire on our connector wasn't reading. So we cut the connector off, did a continuity check between the red wire from one end to the other, and then it read. So then we knew, now I know that at least at the moment, the problem was in our connector was bad. So now what I need to do is I need to grab a connector, and we're going to proceed on installing a new connector on the thing for the guy. So I need my little vise here. Acts as my third hand to hold connector for me. So let me go find a connector for it. All right, so we got a new connector here. What I need to do is I need to thread on everything first that needs to go on. So this goes on first, and then this, and this, and we'll kind of halfway put it together so it stays in place and doesn't slide down, because a little bush in there. As you tighten it out, it fattens up around the cord to try to seal it up. It actually helps you hold this connector in place. And then we'll put this connector in the vise, and then we need to tighten it up. And then I need to cut these back a little bit because he's a little long. I need a resistor for this, because that's how the scale knows what model of low bar is connected to it. That's what that resistor is used for. Got to get the right one first. They're not universal. They'll take a certain one. All right. All right, back out. So now I'm going to kind of cut that to length. I was wanting to zoom in, my little clamp thing will hold in place, so we're just have to do it like this. And my solder. We go between pin 5 and center pin is our resistor. All right, that one's done. Now we need to add solder to each one of these that's being used. So pins 1 through 4 need solder added to them. All right, that's done. So now we're going to put solder on each one of these wires. All right, nice. So put these wires on the correct pins. And it's gonna, since the wires got solder and the connectors got solder, so I should just be able to, I'm gonna cut these a little shorter now since I got solder on, I know how much I'm working with. So that way they don't bend over and touch each other where they shouldn't touch and short something out or something silly. All right, pin 1. I need to turn this connector. Pin 2. Pin 3. Pin 4. Alright, looks good. So now I'm going to take the other end of the cable, bring it back up here. Now I'm going to twist these together and do color to color. So we'll do red to red. We'll do the load cells first, and then we'll take this yellow cable and blend it in with them as well. So we're going to make red to red, white to white, and so on. What I like to do is make sure that they're kind of out from each other, not kind of wiggling between each other. Make sure they're on the outside. So that way it just makes it easier for when you go to attach, I go to attach these wires to it. They don't crisscross or bind up on each other. Black wire, see that one's kind of underneath everything, so we'll bend it out, bring on the outside. Get everything kind of square like that, and just twist them together. And then we'll take this cable, smooth out those wires a little bit. Do the same thing. We'll take the red wire and tie it to the red wire here. Get them kind of lined up. And twist them together. do the white wire next. All right, green wire next. Hope this is all that's wrong. Based on what we've tested, I think this is all what's going to be wrong. Is a bad connector. All right, those all look good. I've got special connectors that we use on these to keep them together, and then we have a little epoxy box and epoxy that we'll make for it. We have a little jig that we use for putting everything back together. But now what I can do is I can't do none of bolting back of this stuff or the little rat trap thing until I get the epoxy all done. But for now, for testing, I'm going to take my foot plate, I'll lay it on the ground, take this, and we're going to square up these ends on the floor with there, make sure it's all square on it. So that way when we step on it, everything's equal and we're not like teeter-tottering on the stupid thing. We'll make sure that the red, black, green, white wires aren't touching, each other or something metal, where they're not short each other out on accident. And then we're going to grab the scale. And we're going to move this vise out of the way since I don't need it anymore. And we'll reconnect the scale back up to it, with a low bar up to the scale, I mean. Okay. All right, so far so good. I'm gonna step on it. Should probably be about 220. All right, low bar is fine. So now I'll step to one end just to see. I'm stepping right in the middle. So one end should weigh a little high, one end should weigh a little light, and then the middle should split the difference. So I'll weigh 223 in the middle. It says 224 at that end. So I'm gonna slide down to the other end just to see. I'm trying to balance myself. They're both reading about the same, so that's good. That means it's really, these load cells are really working right. Typically what it does is in the middle, it weighs you spot on, should anyways. And then one end should be a little high, not by much, just like a couple pounds or so, 5 pounds maybe. And the other end should be a little low. And in the middle, it splits the difference between the two. But it weighs me 225 from front, middle, or back, so it's spot on. So everything's working fine. So now I got to put this connector back together, and then I got to do the epoxy on the load cells and cables. Other than that, this one's raring to go. I got to bolt everything back together still, but I got to wait for the epoxy to harden up, and that takes a couple hours for the epoxy to do its job in that little potted box. But other than that, everything's raring to go. So I'm going to tighten this thing up. Need a couple not flat screwdrivers, a couple channel lock type pliers. I always undo this because I want this wire to be able to spin right here, so that way it doesn't this doesn't lock right here. And as you tighten it up here, the whole thing wants to spin, which is what you want. But if this is on there and locked on there, this little cap here, it locks that cable, and you'll end up possibly twisting the wires off and breaking a connection. So we'll just give it a few turns. You'll feel it kind of start to grab, and do it by hand first. And when it gets so far, it starts to tighten up a little bit. And then we'll take this. We'll give it just a few turns so it stays there. And we'll bring this up here. And we'll grab right there. And right there, and as you fatten it or tighten this one up, Stupid. Wrong direction, stoop. That little grommet inside there will fatten up around there and help keep moisture out and everything. So there's that. And just for shits and giggles, make sure that we didn't bust the wire loose on the inside. We'll connect this back up to it. And I'll just retest it one more time. There it goes. All right, so this one's done for the most part. So I got to do my part of epoxying and bolting everything back together, but I got to do that here. So, but anyways, if you guys ever have a low bar needs worked on, and that's what we do. We work on Gallagher low bars, EID tag readers for Gallagher's, for indicators, electric fence boxes of any brand. I don't care what brand it is. We're working on a bunch of them things. But hopefully this helps you out. You know, hit our website up. It's cattlescalerepair.com. All the information is down in the description area. But hopefully, like this video, I like working on these things. They're kind of fun. You know, they're different to do because it's not a little more mechanical. You get to use different tools versus soldering iron and pliers and stuff like on electric fence boxes. You get to use a bunch of different pliers and tools on those, but these are kind of fun to do as well. All right, well, until next time, we'll see you later. Like the video and hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you all later.